Crows getting together. There's been a lot of talk about the 19th man here, Jacko.
Yes, press release from the Adelaide Football Club during the week called Rule 19, a new initiative by Neil Craig and the Adelaide Crows. So every time the opposition come in and line up for a shot on goal, they've got clappers out there, they've got to stamp their feet, they've got to sing in voice to try and put the opposition off. And if they do so and the result is a miss, then scoring assist, Jared, goes to the crowd. And they're going to do a tally and there's going to be some sort of reward in the day. So Neil Craig, he just doesn't stop surprising, does he?
They've got a pretty good hand ground advantage as it is right now. The sack factor has always been important, Dwayne, in any results here. It's why you never give the Crows away. But there he is, Neil Craig. A month ago, people were questioning his future, but right now he is absolutely flying with this new-look Adelaide Crows.
So it's fined up a little in the last 15 or so minutes. Players in position. There's Adam Simpson. Might be a few butterflies. He's got the whole family over here for the big one, the 300th. Told me once recently he got lucky in the draft. Put up for adoption as a baby and said that he got lucky with his adoptive parents. They made him the fine man that he is, and his parents Brian and Judy are here for his 300th, and he gets it on cue to share it with the whole family. And we saw Adam Simpson burst through the banner with his 3 kids moments ago. So a free kick for North Melbourne to get this one underway, and essentially Adam Simpson in game 300 is out to lead them today. Brent Harvey, the captain, not in the lineup, and we saw Tyson Edwards last week with 41 possessions in his 300th game, driving the Adelaide Crows home. Farito, long inside 50. Jones back into the team, beaten for it by Rutten with ease there. Doughty, he heads wide, and poor pleasure.
Just had to be strong in the contest there, Aaron Edwards, as a key forward where their goals are going to come from today. He needs to put more pressure on his direct opponent.
Thompson, little fumble close to the boundary, but he mopped up his mess. Poor pleasure. Knights, who's been the closer for the Adelaide Crows this year, gets an early one here to Rutten to Bock, the old firm holding solid in defence.
And Bock, as you can see, is on Petrie, and I guess with no David Hale, it makes the matchups a lot more certain.
Thompson's heads wide, and a good pass to Moran. He can go here. No one came at him initially, but he decided to hold it up instead. Riley back into the team this week toward the boundary line. Stevens tries to keep it alive to Tippett, who's the hot man at the moment, coming off that 7-goal performance. Holding the ball was the decision.
Conditions like this, you've got to get hand to foot very quickly and get to the top of the square, put the Kangaroos under pressure.
Edwards gets it from Pratt. Good crowd in despite the weather today. Adelaide Crows always draw a big number here.
Corey Jones playing out of the goal square. And I think that's the upside for no David Hale. They're going to try and upset Ben Rutten and try and run him around with Jones.
Thomas skids off the deck, and we'll see that a bit today, to McIntosh. He heads long. Jones. Umpire said he didn't get an arm slap there from Rutten. He got away with that one. McLeod got it from Symes. Heads wide to Van Berlo. And now bouncing on the wet turf, Bock. He's good at it, and he decides to take it on. Gave up the handball, and they're away. Vince Long, almost the mark. Tippett couldn't quite collect it. Does now. Poor pleasure turns it over. Rawlings back into the middle. McIntosh. Big day in the ruck last week with 40 tap-outs, but only the 8 possessions last week. Was a little down in that department. Urquhart takes on the tackler. Puts it up. Swallow. Farito. Kangaroos look okay early, but they can't get a score just to confirm they're feeling okay. Moran gets back. A wide ball from Van Berlo. Made it tough for Shirley. Late inclusion for the Crows. Rawlings inboard. Ross a slip on the slippery turf. Simpson likewise. Early possession in game 300. Inboard Cruz. Garlick with his first possession was a pretty good one too. Just stumped away from Edwards at the last second. Tackle late on Farito. Thompson. Symes. Doughty. Edwards. McLeod. Okay. Open forward line for Andrew McLeod. Poor pleasure calls for it long. Tippett's on the move. Poor pleasure in the spot. Oh, he almost had it. Had the reach. Couldn't get a toe on it. Is that deliberate? It looked very deliberate from here.
Well, of course it was deliberate, but the ruling is he's under pressure. So as much as we can ascertain, even though it's still very grey, you can do this, and I'm not sure that a lot of players haven't quite come to grips with the fact you are, if you're under pressure, still take it across the line deliberately.
McIntosh to Ross. Ben Ross in game number 9.
Interesting matchup, Rawlings tagger on Shirley tagger. Shirley's the one doing the tagging.
And for those that have joined us late, a couple of changes for the Adelaide Crows with John Cott and Douglas both out with flu-like symptoms, but not the swine flu. Shirley and Petrenko coming in, and for North Melbourne, Hale out and Harris in.
You wish for the rain to stay away, Jared. Hasn't lasted all that long. It's only a couple of minutes in, and
couple of drops.
Starting to come in.
Sorry, Dagger and Jared. Brady Rawlings is actually going with Chris Knights at the moment, and Shirley is trying to tag Adam Simpson in his 300th game.
Shirley has actually been teaching Michael Doughty how to tag, because Shirley had a SANFL suspension that he had to overcome before he was allowed back into the Adelaide Crows lineup. Zeeble, speaking of back into the lineup. Zeeble, one of the favourites for the NAB Rising Star, to Harding. All the way back to Griner. To wait. Iffy bounce. Gibson. So we've essentially played 5 minutes, but 5 goalless minutes to start this contest, but at least it's been a contest. McLeod.
The Crows have got Moran camped in the back half.
Poor pleasure. Thompson. Half held and half had it, so 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. Simpson got it from Gibson, tried to give it up to Ferrito. Van Berlo ridden a little there. Umpire said no. McKay. McLeod. Van Berlo. Poor pleasure. Well moved. Edwards. Now he's within range from 45. He lines them up. Oh, he's kicked hundreds from there. Add another one to the list.
Well, Jared, I'm just going to go through the Kangaroos. They've had about 3 inside 50s, and now one thing that's predictable about the Adelaide Crows is that they mount their attack from their half-back line, and they back their players to run the ball, because they are very good runners. They back their fitness, and their ball working can find areas here, a chain of handballs 3 or 4 times, and then they can go into their forward line. The Kangaroos have got to be a bit more, less predictable going in their forward line, but a good finish in the end by Tyson Edwards.
41 possessions last week in game 300, 9 clearances, 10 tackles, arguably the greatest 300th game ever played.
He's a big body, is Ferrito, but I'm not sure around the ground is the right matchup for Tyson Edwards. Good to have him in at these clinches, but around the ground, Edwards, I think, will touch him up.
Zeeble edged out Riley, held his feet, runs on. Doughty tried to shut him down. Zeeble got the kick away, but Rutten got back. Marked on the behind line. No score to North Melbourne still.
That's their 6th inside 50, and they still haven't got a score on the board.
Zeeble out with gastro last week, so they did miss him last week in that lost North Melbourne.
I think the issue, Jacko, is about 6 inside 50s, and that was the first half shot at goal.
Taylor Walker, superb 60-metre pass to Otten on the run. He thumps it long, tip it, pocket, boundary line, missed it. And Scott Thompson helps it across the line.
I reckon when you play a zone defence, as the Adelaide Crows do, sometimes inside 50s can be inflated. It's how you take it in there to give yourself an opportunity to have a crack at the goals is the issue that's going to determine whether you win.
Oh, nice. That was his forte. The palm down to him on the run to the left. Swallow shoots it back. Knights shut down by Pratt, who dumps him into the turf, as you'd expect. And they'll get a ball up.
The Crows are just pushing players away. They're trying to get away from this clinch. Have a look at the amount of North Melbourne players there. There'll be 2 or 3 more than Adelaide. They're going to back themselves, Adelaide, to win the footy.
Tippett and Harding fought for it on the deck. Rawlings helped tie it in. Another ball up.
And if we get a wider shot here, we've got 2 lines of Adelaide players in a line. 4, you can just see across the line there. There's 4, about 30 metres off, and another 30 metres, there's another 4.
So it's 4 early for the running ball delivery and 4 for the long kick. Vince, oh, that's almost a push from Thomas, not paid. Symes, Van Berlo sees it out.
Well, I have noticed 3 free kicks go unrewarded with the push in the back or the body onto the back. And they've just gone a little bit slate on that rule interpretation as opposed to the start of the season.
Here's a nice one in Tassie this afternoon.
Moran down to Swallow, whose handball wasn't spectacular. Simpson made it look good, but Doughty gobbles it up.
Had a good year, Doughty.
He has. Van Berlo bumped off it as he fumbled, and you can't afford to fumble in this weather. Cruz Garlett got a little trickling kick, the first gamer.
Good pickup.
Dangerfield.
What a pickup.
Moran, Dowdy. Now Paul Pleasure has got two to beat here. Gibson's one of them. Thumps it toward the boundary. Paul Pleasure kicks it in. That's a beautiful cross from the corner. Tackle late on Thompson. McLeod steals it back. Rolls it towards goal. I'm not sure that was touched. That might be home. It was. Fingernail on it. Here's your pickup, Jared.
This kid is really exciting. And there it is. That's just pure athleticism and brilliance.
Oh, that's high. That's way high on Riley. Back into the team this week, Brent Riley. Been emergency the past couple, and Zeeble, he was going for the ball. It's okay.
He has been reported, according to the umpire.
And Jack Zeeble, as I said, one of the favourites for the Rising Star Award, and can't win that if he is suspended.
Don't think he's got any problems with that one.
I think he should be okay. He was going the ball, had his eyes on the ball. Dowdy ties it in, and we'll get a ball up. Brent Riley's fine, which is another plus.
And Big McIntosh has run about 50 metres from a defensive position to get to this clearance.
Dangerfield held up. Another ball up. The umpires today, Sam Hay, Sean Ryan, and Michael Avon. Doing a good job so far. Dangerfield, who appears to be the go-to man from those ball up knockdowns, hasn't been able to break free. Harris, little tunnel ball effort.
And a change up forward for the Kangaroos, Smithy, and they've got Edwards now on Rutten.
Yeah, and Ben Rutten's actually going to try and drag him up the ground every opportunity he gets. But what North Melbourne are doing, they're coming up and trying to flood back, and then the Adelaide Crows are just sitting behind the player.
Thompson to Knights, an outstanding 45-metre pass, low trajectory, barely went above head height.
We know, Jacko, he's going to make the distance.
He will make the distance, but what was pleasing about this bit of play, how the Crows left that full side of the forward pocket nice and open for him to lead into.
Missed some games earlier this year with the fractured eye socket, and they missed him. Chris Knights, he's come back bigger and better than ever, and this is bread and butter for him. Opens the angle a little with the left, kicking from 50, opens it up, kicks from 50. Did
that well.
Bread and butter. And the Crows have got the first two.
Well, he is really hot at the present time. Chris Knights, really been impressed with the way he's gone about it the last month, and who wouldn't be? He's an exciting player because he can play in the middle, and he can also play up forward in a similar style to Rashudo. If he could put a bit more muscle on, he could do a bit more bruising. And gee,
I don't think he needs to put much more muscle on.
Look at it. To catch up the Rashudo, he probably does, but he's still got enough to hurt. But he's going to be able to interchange with Dangerfield, and they won't miss it big.
You mentioned the name Rashudo, Jared. He is the new Rashudo. I mean, he can go forward, he can play in the midfield, he's tough, he can nail an opportunity, he's not scared of the big stage. And he could be a good Crow for a long, long time, as Mark Rashudo was. Otten couldn't make something of that. Half forward, McKay dragged down, we'll get a ball up.
I just see Dangerfield and Knights very much a similar type of player. And whilst Dangerfield not quite as comfortable in front of goals as Knights, similar bodies, and when Dangerfield puts another 50 games on, they're going to be dangerous interchanges.
Jones to Zeeble, but his kick didn't find the target. Riley threw it up, play on advantage. McKay scoots it wide. Walker wider, and Stevens takes the mark. They're using the ball well in the wet.
Nice kick.
High bomb though, and Tippett edged out of that illegally. It was pushed out by Scott Thompson. And if you're confused, yes, there are two Scott Thompsons playing today, one for Adelaide, one for North Melbourne. This is the North Melbourne variety with the push from the defender there.
Interesting, the umpire there wouldn't allow Tippett to open up and play on while he was manning up the mark.
The square, Walker's down there, and Petrie cleverly threw for a behind. So North Melbourne at the moment, 13 scoreless minutes.
Well, they're defending okay. I reckon they're getting their numbers back, etc., but they just don't look capable of going forward and kicking snags at the moment.
Brady Rawlings, whose brother coached his first win on Friday night, and he'll be coaching against him in a few weeks' time when North Melbourne play the Tigers.
He's a chess champion, is Brady Rawlings. He's obsessed by the game.
Is he? barn. The long kick, Marriage, and outreached by Dangerfield. Your man, Jared.
Well, he's got plenty of upside as Patrick.
Yeah, yes. And he's within range here. Does the discipline thing. Puts it up for Tippett and Walker. Tippett went up highest. Just couldn't bring it down. He did bring it down, but didn't hold the mark.
That was nearly the longest alley-oop in the history of the game because he was just setting that up for his teammate Tippett.
But you get an indication of the future here where that's a good mark there. It's a poor kick to 2 on 3, but in years to come he has a few more years in the gym. He'll hold his ground in the air and take those marks.
He almost held that, and he fights on here. And this is his other forte because as a resting full forward, he can take the ruck work here, and he is very good. Jared mentioned the word alley-oop. That's because of his basketball background, and his ruck work is quite good. Taps that down, but Pratt was waiting for it. Harris wide, and a free kick against Symes to Harding.
Just not getting any flow, the Kangaroos, in their play. They're getting just caught into the zone of the Crows, and this is what happens. They go back, they're looking for openings, and invariably they have to make the switch of play and try and go the other way.
A little bit of light rain falling again. Scott Thompson, corralled by Vince, goes wide, and Lockie Hansen didn't play last week, back into the team. This is Cruz Garlett. Gee, he made it tough for the first game. It gave him a hospital handball. Thompson, wide, Harrison, Doughty. Harris cleverly but caught. That's a splendid tackle by Doughty.
A smart play all round because Harris, if he had taken the ball, would have been a sitting duck. Tried to draw the free kick by just knocking it in front of him and hoping he would be tackled. And as you can just see on your camera, just a little spot of rain.
The goal scoring has been the problem for North Melbourne. They've kicked the least goals in the competition in the past month. Even Melbourne has kicked more goals than North Melbourne in the past month, and they're goalless after 16 minutes here.
And to add to that, they're ranked 16th as far as inside 50s in the last 4 weeks, Dwayne. So they're not getting it in there as enough. And last week at an all-time low of I think it was 28.
And I think that spot's turned into a bit of a shower, Smithy.
Yeah, Jared, I was just going to jump in there, say it's coming down very, very heavily now, boys.
The good news for North Melbourne, though, is it's coming down sideways in their direction. It's raining to their end. 15 plays 0. Rutten in the box seat for the big spoil. Didn't go for the kill there. Edwards swoops on it. Kicks toward full forward, getting back Otten. He's another contender for the Rising Star. He's had an outstanding year, Andy.
He's hot. He's dead set hot. Probably hasn't got the profile of a couple of others outside of this state, but he is been flying.
The media profile doesn't count for the selectors. It's just how they play, doesn't it?
Yes, Tom.
Glad we cleared that, Dwayne.
Yeah, because you two are both selectors, aren't you? McLeod. Never ask a question you don't know the answer to. Long kick. Walker with the fly. Tippett from behind. Offhands Grimer. Wobbly kick. Tough ball. Lindsay Thomas. Doughty.
Push out.
And not paid. Little push in the back gate to Petrenko. That's kickable. Hands it inboard. Taylor Walker didn't really settle there.
Also a get off for Lindsay Thomas because he tried to do the tap back into the corridor. He just needed to, whether it's the push out or not, there was something there, but he just had to just keep the ball in front of him and possibly take it out as opposed to giving Adelaide Crows a scoring shot.
Tap down for Rito. No free. Very slippery now. And that could be, no, it's not deliberate. About to tick into time on opening term. The Crows with the only 2 goals of the game. Moran doing some ruck work. Down to Dangerfield again. McKay just left it behind. It is very slippery at the moment. And no one can pick up the cake of soap. We'll get another ball up. 9th versus 12th on the AFL ladder. The Adelaide Crows coming in with a 6-5 record. North Melbourne a 4-7 record. Adelaide can jump up to 4th on the AFL ladder today. We'll push to the back of Ferrito. Dangerfield, boundary line, ball in.
Smithy, many of the players wearing long stops in these conditions, or they go with the option of the blades?
Well, Jared, actually the ground surface is quite hard, so it's just slippery on top. So the players are not changing their boots at the moment, but they'll certainly look at it at quarter time.
Petrie high towards the wing. Riley got a fingernail on it. That was enough to keep it in his direction. Rutten took them on toward Riley. Cut off by Van Berlo, and will that roll out?
That was really smart play from Ben Rutten. He actually backed into the oncoming tackler, so he had his arms free to handball the ball backwards. And he's in a pretty good spot of form as well, Ben Rutten.
Interesting you say that, Gerard, because the Adelaide Crows have this play-on style where they do take on tacklers and commit the tackler to the tackle. Yep. So opposition teams have high tackle counts against them, but it's what the Adelaide Crows want. Beautiful mark to Stevens. He might be within range here. Wet ball, driving rain, but he can roost it. And he's an accurate kick. Headed towards Knights. Walker, well, the ball stayed in. Grimer cleverly took it out before handing it off. 15 points the margin. Ultra reliable Ben Rutten. Began his AFL career as a forward, Ben Rutten, of course. 3 goals with his first 3 kicks, and it's been backline ever since. Swallow out of play on the full. So Adelaide another chance late in this opening term to add to their 15-point lead.
Here it is, Dwayne, is what you're saying. Runs into the tackler, 2 of them, turns his back, then flicks it back.
And even though people will say that the Adelaide Crows changed their game plan, it was just a tinkering. They have always been a play-on type of team.
I think they've just got a bit better at it too. Yeah. Well, they've got a lot better at it.
McIntosh down. Rawlings. Very slippery ball now. Power crunched in that contest, and we know he was knocked out last week. Sam Power. Knights. Symes. Poor Pleasure. Can he get back? Scott Thompson's with him. Poor Pleasure. Boundary line. We'll get a ball in.
Nice checking on Poor Pleasure. And there's Tippett. Not generally his sort of weather, but he hasn't embarrassed himself in any way, shape or form. Still dragging at least 2 men.
McIntosh down to Harding, used some strength. Urquhart. McMahon, little tap on. Don't know about the tap on in this weather. Now the trickling kick. Jones. McIntosh. Slung. Farito. Hanson. High bomb. Kick in hope. Adelaide Crows with numbers up. Riley slaps it down. And to Jones's advantage. Ross. He gets a rolling ball, but Rutten was there on his own to gobble that up.
Well, the Adelaide Crows have got 2 quarterbacks down there.
Look at that. Wet ball, one hand. Edwards heads forward to the goal square, just off the hands of Paul Pleasure. Might get a second go at it. He does. Slips it to Knights. Handballs it to Walker. Caught. Handball up towards Shirley. He's pushed into it. Still a chance for Simpson. He ties it up. He'll be happy with that. Danger averted for now.
One of the great highlights of the year to date, given the circumstances. Good ball work. Ball was coming at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and he controlled it beautifully in the wet.
Adam Simpson being held in that contest, so 300 game man to take the ball. 4 minutes from quarter time. Scott Thompson.
The Kangaroos have got to really rethink their strategy at countering this Adelaide zone, because we've seen too often Jacko just blast into the forward line where Ben Rutten's out-thinking them. The whole midfield pressure is forcing them into long kicks to no one.
No, you're right, Gerard. They're just suffocating the Kangaroos at the minute and just dictating terms and play to them.
Never nice to have a scoreless quarter. McIntosh down, and Dangerfield again from another stoppage to Thompson to Poor Pleasure. Thumped away from him by North Melbourne's Thompson. Scoops it towards Rawlings or the boundary. Either would do. Knights. Scott Thompson. Boundary line, and Scott Thompson has been in outstanding form as well. 33, 38 and 30 possessions in the past 3 weeks, in coincidentally 3 Adelaide wins in the past 3 weeks. He has been instrumental in their revival this season. Tipper. Dangerfield again. Surely have to stop him from the stoppages. Missed the target with the handball. Shirley mops it up. McKay. High around the body. McIntosh. Big man dropped it. It is tough, but you've got to hold them. Knight scoops it up. McLeod gives it up. Thompson on cue. Gets to kick it. Goal! McMahon on the line.
Well, we've heard Neil Craig talk about the short handball, and in the instance there was 3 short handballs. You can see a great save there. A certain goal, but their work in confined spaces at the minute of the Crows is just fantastic to watch in these conditions.
Yeah, they don't look like they're playing wet weather footy, do they? They just have continued to play their game. Whereas I think the Kangaroos are struggling at the moment with the conditions.
Cruz Garlett plays the tackle on Moran and call out of play. And he is the first ever Cruz to play AFL football, surely. Cruz Garlett, if you don't count Max Cruz.
He's been pretty impressive, Smithy Cruz.
He has, Jared, and he's very skillful. He's a skillful player, but they just got to get it up forward line. They've got a couple of players back, but they just can't get it past the wing. So Ben Rutten's just playing a kick behind the play, mopping it up all the time. So North Melbourne got to make sure that they hit the targets and move the ball a little bit quicker.
McIntosh.
Well, the bloke who's loving life at the moment is Patrick Dangerfield. No one wants to go near him,
especially at those stoppages. McIntosh just kicks that up in hope that someone can pull down a big one. Doughty, quick onto the crumb, tackled by Edwards. And with 2 minutes on the clock to quarter time, we'll get a ball up. North Melbourne yet to score in 25 minutes of football. Shirley and Urquhart, third and fourth men up. Thompson, not sure we'll count that kick. We'll count that handball from McLeod. That was another one of those short ones to McKay. Taylor Walker. Oh, how's that for strength? There's no one in the square. It might skid off. Long ball, though, it's across the face, and Grimer doesn't have to chase it down. It's out of play. That's a win for Adelaide.
And it's a letter for Lockie Hansen because he just had to wrap that tackle up. Dingley would not be happy with that at all. It's an easy tackle broken away.
So where's Dangerfield here? From the ball in. Tippett, Hansen. Dangerfield tried to smother the kick from Harris, which rolls outside 50, but to McKay.
This is classic what we've seen in this first quarter, Dwayne. Kangaroos winning the clearance, but then kicking it back to a nest of Adelaide players.
Stevens, good grab.
Dangerfield's been the exception. He has bobbed up, and that was always a push. A good decision. But the clearance tally is well and truly in favour of the Kangaroos, and yet...
Gee, that was in the side.
If you're going to win a clearance, you just can't kick it back to the opposition team.
Well, we've just seen two angles of that, and that's clearly in the side.
Well, I'm sure North Melbourne fans will be pretty happy to have a piece of luck go their way. It's an ugly scoreboard at the moment with a minute left to quarter time. Good leap from Petrie, and an even better fist.
It's an interesting point, Jared, you raised, because I think they're just they're allowing the Kangaroos to win that first ball. And what it effectively does, it puts them into attack because they kick it to a wall of Crows who mount that attack from that long up and under kick.
Scott Stevens just explained to the umpire the rule is you're allowed to push in the side. Just in case you didn't know that. We get another ball in with 56 on the clock.
Dwayne, the umpire actually admitted that it was a push in the side, but there was two actions, he said, so he couldn't push.
Okay, there's Brent Harvey. James Brayshaw as well, the president.
Is it Greg Blewett deciding, the former Australian
cricketer? So they're good friends, play cricket together, of course. James Brayshaw and Greg Blewett. Gibson. The wobbler off the boot. That is cleverly bouncing out of play. Adelaide Crows coming into this with sensational form. They won their past three against Carlton, Hawthorn and Essendon, three quality opponents. North Melbourne coming in with 5 losses from their past 7. Free kick from that contest. And North Melbourne probably would be pretty happy right now to go in without any further addition to the Adelaide score. Petrie. As we see McIntosh having a rest. We've joined us late. Hale out and Harris in for North Melbourne.
How much wind advantage to the Crows, if any, Smithy, given it's a wet ball?
Probably, I said at the start of the game, Jerry, probably about 2 goals, but it's actually dropped down a little bit with the rain coming down now. The wind's dropped.
The windsock's pretty flaccid and coming almost across the ground now. It can't be much.
Back in, one last chance at a clearance and a mark. Edwards toward half forward. The seconds continue to roll. Gibson's fist will make sure there is no further addition to the score. And this is a free from this ruck contest.
Smithy, any chance that Dean Laidley went into this game saying we just want to be in touch at quarter time, given it's an away game and Adelaide have been in red hot form?
Yeah, it certainly is the case, Joe, but they'd be pretty disappointed in them actually not scoring for the whole quarter either. So they'll be looking at quarter time to actually just try and make sure that they can get a score in the second quarter.
Things go to plan for that man. Neil Craig, the mastermind, and Adelaide lead by 16 at quarter time at Amy. 2-4-16 to no score. Dust off the thermos. It's winter football at its best, and the Adelaide Crows have played exceptional football in the wind and rain. 2-4-16 at quarter time to North Melbourne, no score. Edwards and Knights, the two goal scorers for Adelaide, and the numbers tell a bit of the story if you read into them exactly what we were talking about pre-game, guys.
Well, you don't have to look at the clearances to see that it's a complete contrast of what's actually happening out there. But the inside 50 is the one that I'm talking about. I mentioned it in the 5th minute mark of this quarter. It was 6-3 in favour of the Kangaroos. And then after that, it was 15-1. And the sheer dominance of the Adelaide Football Club. Just their ability to work through the ground. But the, I guess, the fortunate thing for the Kangaroos is they've absorbed all the punishment. They're only 16 points. Now they've got to attack the game and find a way, because if they play like that, Jared, for the remainder of the game, well, I can't see where they're going to kick a winning score.
No, they've got to find a way to go through the middle a bit more and get it down there with some purpose. And essentially, they're doing the right thing by winning clearances, but they have got to then turn it into multiple possessions to get it over and above. Otherwise, they'll just make Ben Rutten the #1 possession winner on the ground.
Yeah, well explained, Jared. Just handing it over every time. Good news in some respects. The rain is a little lighter, although Smithy still has the umbrella.
Well, as you can see, Dwayne, the rain has lightened off a little bit. It definitely did come down in that first quarter.
It's not raining, Smithy.
No, it is raining, Jared. I've got the umbrella up. But boys, the way the Adelaide Crows played that quarter was sensational. They allowed North Melbourne to outnumber them at the contest because North Melbourne putting up players behind the ball. But Ben Rutten was just mopping up the ball behind the play. I think North Melbourne have got to go one-on-one. They are kicking with a little bit of the breeze in this second quarter, so hopefully they can get on the board, boys.
16 points to margin. Second term underway with the ball thrown in the air, and Moran wins his own clearance. Handball smothered, but he got it to Bock. Quick off the square was Bock, gave to Thompson. High kick, almost straight up in the air, although a mark will be paid. It was taken, couldn't be taken. Ross with the crumb. Edwards slides in with a tackle that looks a little high from this angle.
Well, one bloke they've got to get in the game is Lindsay Thomas. He only had the 2 possessions. And Drew Petrie, very quiet, so two players very capable of kicking some goals for him.
Well, they're all playing up in the forward line. Jones is in the same boat, and they're just starving at the present time.
McIntosh, the quick kick, and that's a brilliant mark.
He's going to be strong in the contest in the body. I mean, he's a seasoned player, Drew Petrie, and he allowed Bock just to push him off and take an easy chest mark.
Bock to Dowdy, trouble here. Rutten handballs it over the top. Jones breaks through, needs to kick this. They're desperate for one, and he delivers.
Well, Jerry, that's the start that they needed. A rare mistake by the Adelaide defence. They went to switch the play. Good tackle here by the new gamer there. Just all the pressure. Aaron Edwards certainly got that opening, and then Corey Jones comes through, and as you said, Dwayne, had to kick it. Now they're within 10 points.
Well, it was a real tick for forward line pressure. They just swooped on the Crows, who were running the ball backwards, and they didn't have the footing to execute it properly.
Back into the team this week for his second game of the year, Corey Jones, and that was goal number 200 for his 147-game career. And that man can breathe a little sigh of relief. Finally, they are on the board. Thompson scoops it up. Edwards smothered. Shirley with the clearance. Paul Pleasure sits under it, flies with a fist. Good commitment. Rawlings just hacks it out of the area. Makes it somebody else's problem, though. And well played by Ross. Simpson knew Edwards was coming, wanted to scoop the handball back. Knights edged out, and Ross gets it back again. Good start to the term, North Melbourne. Good pass that to Petrie. Open forward line. Lindsay Thomas, you mentioned Jacko, needs to get involved. Can get involved here. Centering kick, superb. Edwards, one grab, not the second grab. Dowdy towards the line. All in, but a good spot.
The beauty about that whole play off the half-back line, Dwayne, was the pace of the way they transferred the ball back into their forward line, not allowing Adelaide to get numbers behind the ball and giving their players opportunity. Well done, Drew Petrie, up, met the ball, took a good chest mark.
Close to the boundary again for Rito. Simpson with the snap. Bounces for a behind. Riley. First chance we've had to see the Adelaide kick-in plan, which is the huddle they're playing here. Riley fake one way, then comes the other.
They actually flooded to that side.
Okay, so, but he faked to the other side initially to get the North Melbourne players on the wrong foot. So a very clever plan that. Vince, McLeod, and he was held out of that, Andrew McLeod.
Bit stiff there, the Kangas, because McIntosh, who's had plenty of the footy, had 10 possessions. He took a very strong grab.
Stevens leads wide. And that's a pretty good kick, although Stevens couldn't quite collect it with the diving attempt. Another ball in. Adelaide by 9 points. Led by 16 at quarter time. Moran, McIntosh and Shirley third man up, but couldn't take it. Moran does, gives to Scott Thompson. Little push off. Spears the pass toward Port Pleasure. Gibson.
Good battle this one. Gibson was the last on the ball went in there. He propelled it to set up a shot at goal for the Kangaroos and doesn't give away a free kick.
He's improved his numbers this year, Josh Gibson. Conceded more goals to opponents last year than any other defender playing in his position. Port Pleasure almost concedes one here.
Jeez, you put a moz on him there.
High kick towards the square and ball thumped across the face.
And boys, Josh Gibson as well, just being able to adapt himself, playing on Rewalt last week, which is a tall, and it did a pretty good job on him. Now he's got a job on Port Pleasure today, so just good adaptability from Josh Gibson.
And what I liked about that actual last contest with Gibson and Port Pleasure, he actually got side by side with him. So if you're going to beat him and not give the free kick away, use your body strength and get side on side with him.
Trouble here. Lockie Hansen heads wide, and they get out of trouble. Grimer. It's with Gibson's numbers last year, goals against. Did have a couple of big numbers kicked by Favola and Lance Franklin against him, so that does ruin the overall number against your name for the year. But he does play on the better opponents. Jones. High kick towards attacking 50. It's wide though, and Edwards can't keep it alive.
Well, it's an opportunity now. If there is a slight breeze down there, they've got to make it really tough for Adelaide to clear the ball out of there. Get a scoring opportunity from a lot of these clear or stoppages.
The rain stopped for the time being. Thompson, another possession. Van Berlo, Moran, Shirley, Doughty, a couple of fumbles. Edwards, another fumble. Slaps it on. Thompson, another fumble across the line.
And with the increase in the pressure of the Kangaroos, you can just see that the game that was holding up pretty well in the first quarter for Adelaide, it's just starting to fragment a little bit with a lot of handballs going to ground.
Little tip back. Harding, there's another fumble. Ferrito throws it up. McMahon, don't know about the knock on the wet weather. Have I said that before? Gibson, he gets the kick away, but it's way wide. Urquhart can't take the mark. It's out of play on the full.
I think you've got to size up the situation there. McMahon went for the big slap, missed the ball, and Adelaide looked on their way, but I think you've got to size up the conditions. I think if you do take possessions in these conditions, I think the umpire will give you some benefit of the doubt.
Gibson fist again. Ferrito. McMahon takes this one. Takes on the tackler. Ferrito to his own advantage nicely. Now needs to get the handball up. Stolen by Van Berlo. Crows away. Stevens leads back. Calls for it long in his direction. About to jump. Got a hand on it. Hansen made the spoil but then hit the deck. Stevens gets the kick towards goal. Rolls across the face. Petrenko in the pocket. Corralled. Rolls it back across the face. Back to the other pocket. Still alive.
Watching the Socceroos too much, I think.
McMahon. Hansen. And now comes straight down the middle. Danger here.
Poor option.
He read that well. Hands it off. Knights with the left from 50. A little wide. And the mark taken by Hansen again. So a better contest in this second term.
You sense if the Kangaroos slow the game down and try and play Kiwis off, it'll propel Adelaide into getting the ball. They've got it like they got their first goal, attack their forward line and with a bit of pace.
So Petrenko took that. I know he was tackled, but I'd rather see a player do that than try the clever knock on. Smithy downstairs.
Well, boys, we highlighted Chris Knight's in between, just in the pre-game, about him being able to go kick goals from outside 50. Van Berlo here should have just given it to him and actually put a block on for him so he could run into an open goal. But, yeah, it's just a little bit of an indecision there.
Marriage to Doughty. Stevens can't get there to attempt a mark, but at least he forced the spoils to be out of play, and we'll get a ball in. Scott Stevens, become an important player for the Adelaide Crows after the first year at the club where he couldn't get a game at all after recruiting him from the Sydney Swans. And another one of the players that Neil Craig says, you've got to earn your spot. We'll keep you on the list if you're good enough, but don't think we're going to give you a game just because you're there. McIntosh got it from Power, kicks it to Jones. Drops the mark. Zeeble tied up by Doughty.
It's really interesting, Smithy, the way they're playing this defence, Adelaide. We just saw Jones drop the ball. His direct opponent is Otten, who could see that he was going into space, but he had to guard his own space.
Yeah, exactly. And probably the one thing, Jared, that has been noticeable in this second quarter is North Melbourne, the ability to go one-on-one. We've got Lindsay Thomas out here on the wing on his own, and being able to run through the middle of the ground's better.
Petrie to Swallow. Good one-on-one. Edwards got a hand to it. Claimed he was held. Otten again. He's the new bot. Gets it wide. Symes.
Scary thing about Otten is he was recruited as a midfielder. And if you look at their midfield with Thompson, Dangerfield, and then potentially this bloke who's currently playing on a half-back flank.
Did that well.
They are three of the biggest bodies going around.
And yet another basketballer to the game. Andy Otten as well.
I think Matt Rendell's in charge of their recruiting. It's pretty clear the types of players he likes. Good ones.
Yes. Alan Stewart, another great spotter of talent too with the Adelaide Crows, formerly with Port Adelaide and the former Teal Cup coach with South Australia as well as Dangerfield. One of those men they spotted as a young player. The Adelaide Crows took him ahead of Brad Ebert, which caused a lot of consternation here in Adelaide. They let him complete school last year, Patrick Dangerfield, and then played him late in the season. He was virtually the Jack Watts of South Australia last year. There was a lot of talk about allowing him to finish school, but it looks to have paid off. Adelaide doing it that way. And on cue, Dangerfield grabs, spins in, caught and dumped. Ball up.
Well, it looks like Adelaide are pretty comfortably controlling this match, but the good thing is the Kangaroos have stabilised it to a large degree, and they're just giving it a so low scoring, just 10 points down. So they only have to drop off 5%, the Crows, and the Kangaroos can quickly take control of this match.
Harris, Grimer, McMahon, and then Ross with an average handball and a fumble. And the umpire says ball. It's Adelaide's ball. They were away then, North Melbourne. Vince, the leads come. He goes long. Knights peeling back. Poor Pleasure taps it. Still in there. Good spot for a ball up for Adelaide here. It's a long way out to be trying to knock it through.
Still waiting for the 19th man.
Well, they've still got to take risks at the Kangaroos, and the last couple of entries inside their forward 50s went through the corridors, through the middle with pace, and they missed an opportunity on that shot on goal when they had a chance.
Tippett, little tap down, and Petrie, Slick, Swallow, Harding. Gets them outside 50 with a handball to Urquhart. But here's this wall the Adelaide Crows form. Doughty with the fist.
That's one way through.
Yep, Jones from mid-air, but unfortunately straight back to the wall, and they've got to be a little smarter about it. Rutten. McKay.
Get plenty of it, McKay.
And McLeod can't get there to attempt the spoil on Pratt. Across to the other side, McMahon. He's got nowhere to go to here, really. Adelaide Crows zone comes across with McMahon. Forces him to hold it up and go ultra wide to Cruz Garlett. Gee, the debutant, the first gamer, they've made it tough for him. Can they just give him an easy possession? Let him get some confidence in. Bot. Pokes it. Taylor Walker. Thompson comes off the bench, calls for the handball. He throws it up long. Poor Pleasure had the hands on it, but had it thumped away from him. McMahon, Simpson, dangerous spot. Marriage. He was important last week as well when he came on. Pokes it back to the square. Petrenko, poor Pleasure, they're all down there. Poor Pleasure with the spoil. He hits the deck. Knights comes in. Tapped away from him. Rawlings tried to grab it. Petrie does. Here's to McMahon. He goes with a torpedo outside 50. Huge leap, no mark to Edwards. Monster leap. Pity he couldn't bring it down. Riley into the corridor. Oh, they've got numbers here, Adelaide. Doughty looks up. Any amount of options. Van Berlo, Otten from outside 50. The defender kicks a long bomb that's missed everything. Rotten from Otten.
Well, the Kangaroos have got to make Otten and Rutten a bit more accountable because they're just, as we see, a great leap there. But, I mean, in these conditions, they're not going to really come off. And when that ball went to ground, Adelaide were able to clear it. So they've just got to get their structures a lot better sorted out going into the forward line. They're getting plenty of the ball. They're working okay, but they've just got nothing from here.
Rawlings,
this is the important kick.
It is. Bock. And he used his body well there. McMahon and Rutten and Bock team to get it out of play. So 10 points the margin. 10 minutes in.
On that occasion, Corey Jones peeled off the back and left his one teammate to compete against two, and one of them was Rutten. That just can't happen.
Ball to the back for Rito. Handball a little too slick for Simpson. Shirley with the outside of the foot. Hansen takes the slippery ball. Gibson. To the open side, the Adelaide Crows zone feeds across. Grimer.
He's really worked hard, Urquhart, to get off Tyson Edwards to give himself a chance to get a possession.
Yeah, he was rewarded with a good kick, and that is a push. So Zeeble, who started the game in a long sleeve, now in the short sleeve, sends it long. Stevens in defence now with the thump. Corey Jones couldn't grab it. Shirley can't. Again, a lock in, but this time it's a good spot for a ball up for North Melbourne.
Surprisingly, one of the tactics of the Kangaroos, like they've gone long to the forward line there to Corey Jones or Drew Petrie, but they haven't got many players underneath the foot to kick him a snap goal or a plumbing goal.
Power went back into trouble looking for a handball option. Edwards with the kick to Rawlings. Too far out to score. Knows it. Centering kick. Edwards and Ferrito both there. Cruz Garland tried to get a snap away. Can't. Rutten. Stevens.
That said, though, Jacko, they're just 10 points down.
That's right. That's
right. Most people expected a bit of a shellacking. To be within striking distance, well, I think suggests that the tactics are probably working.
One may suggest that they lack a little bit of class down the forward line. They're not having the luxury of super talented forwards, but their forwards are capable, if they use, I guess, a bit of footy smarts, to kick a score.
Harris got a trickling kick. Scott Thompson tried to get it out for the Crows, scooped out by McKay and Doughty, but he hacks it straight to Pratt. North Melbourne can reload here. They'll go across to the open side. It's been what they've been trying to do. Adelaide awake to it now. Grimer into the corridor dangerously. Simpson.
There's a smart free kick from Bock there. Held Simpson up. Didn't give away the 50, but gave his teammates enough time to get behind the footy.
Urquhart. Hansen. And on the lead. Can he get there? He can't. McMahon can't take the mark. Scott McMahon from Middleton in the York Peninsula in South Australia. Woodville Torrens boy back home. He's already played his SANFL footy. Petrie, the slap back, and another one from Urquhart, but straight to McLeod. Kicks centrally and dangerously, although Edwards just overran it slightly. There's a tackle on Rutten, who didn't have it. Gibson wobbles it inside 50. Otten front spot, position A, handballs it out, Doughty's direction. That's a throw, maybe. Riley not penalised with the Crow throw. Van Berlo wide.
They're running hard here. They're running
Thompson
hard.
And Petrenko. Little fumble. That's all it takes. Boundary line looming. Another fumble. Scott Thompson with the take through the legs. Symes, Vince, Otten, and they're away again. Petrenko. This time he'll make something of it, perhaps. Pokes it to the pocket, and Grimer thumps it out of play. Tippett saying that he was held.
He just tackled him and then upended him.
Well, I reckon it was a tough one for the umpire because he looked like he'd almost grabbed possession. He was probably not quite in control of the footy, but it was a tough decision.
Tippett toward McLeod, who gets it to Thompson, who can't break free. But yet again, Scott Thompson high in the possessions. 12 so far. And we did hear last year, about halfway through the year, Simon Goodwin saying that Scott Thompson needs to be rated up there with Gary Ablett and Chris Judd, one of the premier midfielders of the competition now, and his numbers starting to prove it in the last month. Dangerous handball back. Hansen, he can't rush this, but he rushed in and took possession. Handball not so good. Thompson, Rawlings, Grimer, Urquhart steady in defence. And they were steady. Doughty slaps it out. Adelaide a chance here. Thompson needs to get it back out again. Symes was lurking. A maul of players in there. Poor Pleasure tries to barrel his way through. Pratt likewise got out a handball. Petrie, a little toe poke. Boundary line his friend, and he knew it. And we'll get a ball in. 18 minutes gone. Second term. It was a 16-point margin at quarter time. North Melbourne was scoreless at quarter time. Margin back to 10 points. We see Simon Goodwin, the man I spoke about having a rest this week,
with an earpiece in.
talking to the people in the box, you'd presume. Would have been a milestone too for Simon Goodwin. 250th game today would have been, and we know how good they've been in milestone games. We'll have to wait another week, or 2 weeks with the week off to play that. Sam Power, chip kick, and it hit the deck. Hansen heard the call of play on to Rawlings, to Hansen.
Well, they've got to do something here because it's been in their defensive area for too long a period.
McIntosh, can we count all these inside 50 of the ground line?
A couple of options here.
Farito, he called Garlett back into it, and Cruz Garlett heads wide. Lindsay Thomas with some space to use. Dumps it along towards the goal square. Bock getting back, and he just gets back in time to get a palm on it.
This is a fair kick.
Bock, speaking of fair kicks, that's a big 55-metre launch to Moran. There's a free kick here somewhere. And it's against Zeeble to McKay.
Just struggling to find the footy at the moment is Zeeble. Just the 4 possessions.
I think the Adelaide Crows would have done their homework. He has been important to North Melbourne this year. McIntosh from 3 deep, can't mark it. Simpson can't crumb it. Petrenko took on the tackler and got the free kick for a too high. Late inclusion, if you've joined us late, Richard Douglas and John Cock out. Petrenko and Shirley in for Adelaide, and Petrenko, who's been emergency just about all year.
There's poor Pleasure potentially talking to the skipper.
Tippett down and wrapped up Dangerfield. So having a chat to the skipper on the bench.
Yeah, Dwayne, I just heard the guy Pleasure came from the ground, and one of the trainers brought the microphone over, and so Simon Goodwin's been speaking to the players all throughout this game. So just giving them a little bit of advice as they come from the bench.
Some boys who could play in that box as well. Goodwin, but also Todd Viney you saw there, and Ben Hart, what a superstar he was. Van Berlo sends it inside 50, wide ball. Simpson has to go, and he does. Had to make the commitment. Grimer, he heads wide. Lindsay Thomas all the way down to the back pocket, and there's the signal. Let's maintain possession. Harding, 4 minutes left to half-time, and you'd think North Melbourne would be reasonably happy to go in with just a 9-point deficit.
I think they'd be very happy because the Crows have had 32 inside 50s for 2 goals fired.
Well, they've had 15 in the last 3 minutes. Just keeps getting rebounded out.
Otten to McKay. Here's another one. Knights. He tapped that down to Vince. Thought he couldn't mark it. Tapped it down. Unbelievably good team play, but it couldn't be finished off. Only a behind. 10 points the margin. A little bit different conditions for North Melbourne as well. They played 9 of their last 10 games at Etihad Stadium, so maybe not used to the slippery ball as much as Adelaide are. Gibson mops up a big mess there.
Well, real opportunity there for the Crows, and I think Thompson will look at that and learn not to play for the whistle or the free kick. Just play the ball until it gets pulled up.
Urquhart.
He allowed himself to get dragged out of that one.
They're on here.
Needs to get a long kick to Simpson, who can get and go here. Realises that now. Few pass options. Aaron Edwards with the fly. Good grab. Used his body to protect the drop zone of the ball, and then his hands were strong. Dowdy and Lindsay Thomas. And the umpire telling Lindsay Thomas to get it away. Big kick this for Aaron Edwards.
Well, it's a good opportunity against the run of play. Jared mentioned they've had about 15 inside 50s in the last 7 or 8 minutes.
And in theory, kicks this, they could take the lead into half-time. To cut the margin back to 4, that won't do it at all. Good fly, no attempt to mark in the end from Petrie, and a little bit of in the back from McMahon to Stevens. Free kick.
Jared, what surprised me a couple of times when the Kangaroos have gone to the top of the square, there just seems to be no coming players. On that occasion, the ball flew
Two
short.
against 8.
It was 2 against about 8 Adelaide players, but no Lindsay Thomas, no Urquhart, no Harris, no player underneath them.
Symes, Edwards, Otten, dummy sold to Zeeble. Riley, so he took on and waited till he drew the player and then gave it to the free man Riley. It's a game plan that's worked for them in the wet and the dry. Chance here for Knights. Almost within range from there. Centering kick. Paul Pleasure. Front spot. That's the spot to be. And Aaron Edwards had a chance at the other end to reduce the margin to 4. And all of a sudden, in the blink of an eye, an opportunity for one of the sharpshooters of the competition to stretch it back to 16. 23 goals, 5 this year. Jason Porpleasure. In the shadows of half-time. Did you ever doubt him? 16 points the margin.
Well, I know he's one of your favourites, Dwayne. Porpleasure. It was a very good lead. It was a really good kick too from Chris Knights on the non-preferred right side.
But his breakaway speed, that's what set it up.
Pace, isn't it? And he just comes charging through Porpleasure and takes it on the chest. But it's his finish that has thrilled you over the last couple of years, Dwayne.
Well, it's the evolution of the goal kicking forward, Jared. We talked about accuracy rates not improving. They have now. Took them a long time, Adelaide, to get one in this term. 25 minutes to get their first goal of the quarter. And it's back to the margin it was at quarter time, 16 points. Ball tossed in the air. Big 90 seconds coming up here. McMahon tried to shoot a slippery handball out, stolen by Dangerfield, and now the Crows are away. Van Berlo, Bock, wide ball, Knights with a bouncing ball. Good hands. Almost a throw, but it was slick, and their hands are superb again with the slippery ball. Dangerfield back to Thompson, now to Dowdy. Little nudge in the back. Otten shoots it out. McKay, scoring chance here again for Adelaide. Taylor Walker beaten for it by Scott Thompson. Clever work, Scott Thompson there.
Just doesn't lead up hard enough at the moment, Taylor Walker. He's always, I think, concerned about getting back to space rather than continuing his lead to open up space behind.
Thompson long to the wing. Crows with the numbers again, and for the ball at the back, where the ball quite often falls when it's slippery. Zeeble, Dangerfield, another steal. McKay, inboard, Dowdy, the second throw, we're down to 30. Long kick inside 50, Tippett flies, dumped away from him. Porpleasure can't get back, Swallow does, ran into a tackle, had a little bit of prior there. Umpire gave him the benefit of the doubt. Urquhart tries to roll it out. Riley dragged down, tackle looked a little high to some in the crowd. Ball up with 12 on the clock.
Let's take a look at this tackle to see what happens to the footy. Let off there for the Kings.
And it was in the vision of the umpire.
Ferrito ducked out of it and then ducked into it. Symes, they need a mark from this kick, Adelaide. Porpleasure flies with Tippett. Thump back out. Edwards, 2 seconds. Wide ball. McLeod. Siren's beaten him. He played on. Will it count?
Yeah.
No score for Andrew McLeod. I think he might have kicked it. Half-time here at Amy Stadium. And it's a 16-point lead to the locals. 3-6-24. North Melbourne, 1-2-8. Welcome to those who've joined us again. 16-point margin at half-time. We're about to get the second half underway.
Well, the wind looks like it's freshened a little bit, Smithy.
Jared, it definitely has freshened up, boys. I can tell you that right now. But the breeze has picked up a little bit at half-time. Still going the way that the Crows are kicking at this moment.
We knew it had freshened up because we could hear your teeth chattering. Moran for the ball up against McIntosh. We're underway in the second half and we're not really going anywhere. We'll get another ball up.
Well, you'll sense that the Crows will really take it right up to them and put maximum scoreboard pressure and try and blow this game out a little bit. But this is a very important 10 minutes for the Kangaroos.
He's a good handball into space.
Shirley, little fumble, but he got it up to McKay. Tackled, dumped. Ross, handball out towards McMahon. There's the tap on it. It worked. It's made me look a fool. Farito. Jones rolls it inside, 50. Stevens
Great
down
play.
to Bock.
Not down to Bock.
He dropped it.
And holding the ball. So a good start coming up here for the Kangaroos if Petrie can nail this goal.
Against the flow, let's have another look.
Yep.
Took the tackle on. But we did see one in the second quarter against the Kangaroos, which wasn't given.
Maybe the umpire didn't see it, because he certainly saw that one.
And 50-50 at goal this year. Drew Petrie, 11 goals, 9. And a couple of complete misses. This ultra important. It's got a little bit of bend on it. And too much bend. But behind from there. Needs to kick those. That would have cut it back to 10. It stands at 15 with Riley in possession.
Big flood there in the middle of the ground, a big huddle, as you can see. Once again, he did the double take.
Surely they're awake up to that now. Moran, nice grab. No, play on. Didn't gather the second one before it hit the turf. Edwards bumped off the kick by Jones. Ball hit towards the line. Ball in. Crowd not happy.
Not happy, but no doubt, Jacko, that the Kangaroos have just said, right, all out of salt. Just leave nothing on the table. Just get in there and put everything into this first 5 minutes after half-time.
That was a mark, that.
Yeah, crowd had a reason to be unhappy at that. Moran. Farito gets the kick away, and not a bad one, although it'll be cut off by Van Burley, bumped out of play by Lindsay Thomas.
The 19th man took credit for that Petrie miss as well.
Yeah, that's right, an assist to the crowd. 19th men not allowed into the closed sessions of training, but they're allowed to show voice here during the games. Ball knocked down to Edwards. Oh, good tackle by Power. Somehow got it out. Scott Thompson loops it, but straight to Lindsay Thomas.
Right.
Straight through the hands of Rawlings. Pratt can't backtrack through the traffic. Ball up.
Well, the early indication for the Kangaroos is they've lifted their tackling intensity, and that's what they need to do, to not allow the Crows to get their flow of game or their chain of handballs into this game.
With one-handed collect by Knights, but he couldn't get the ball onto his boot. Pratt dances through. Wobbles a half torpedo towards half forward. Harris dragged down in a gang tackle, and a nest of Crows will get another ball up. Talked about this game being super important for North Melbourne. They've got a horror run of away games coming up in the next month and a half, and they want to stay in touch with the top 8. Symes kicks to half forward. Gibson, well, he let it go. Tippett tried to thread a handball through. It was smothered. McKay tried to step his way through, couldn't. Symes dragged down. Good tackle that. And we'll get another ball up. But this game ultra important for Adelaide as well, given they've got their horror run at the end of the season. They need to be in the 8. Because their last 6 of 7 games, Geelong, St Kilda, Hawthorn, Carlton, Collingwood and the Showdown. 6 of the last 7 games for Adelaide. So they've got an ultra tough run, the Adelaide Crows, to finish the season.
I want to talk about Josh Gibson. I think he's had a really good battle with Paul Cleese, but it's these sorts of efforts that keep you in games. Now, he had 3 players he was going to there, and they were wide and they were running to goal, but him smothering Tippett's handball was indicative of how they've started this half.
McKay kicks it into the back of Symes. Ross mops it up. Power with the kick to half forward. Bock and Stevens both jumped. Van Berlo back into the corridor. Stevens, Otten, Doughty, they peel to the open side. The kick is high. It's a 3-on-2, and Scott takes the mark. Scott Thompson tried to play on. Sends it wide. Jones, little nudge out, make that a giant nudge out, and a free kick to Doughty.
Just got to be more mindful when the ball's coming in like that, with the lack of opportunity going the 450. No need to do it. Just body him so the ball comes in for a contest and then compete for it once the ball hits the ground. But it's just an easy free kick for the opposition.
Bock tries to spear that one. McMahon cuts it off. Ross took on the tackler, got away with it. Ball hemmed in, almost high on Vince.
It's a sheer inconsistency in the rule there by the umpires, because he took the tackler on.
It's high on Vince, surely.
Dwayne, Brent Riley's just come from the ground limping. He's just followed the physio straight up into the rooms, boys. So I'll give you an update in a minute, but yeah, he's gone straight up into the rooms.
As I mentioned at the start, hasn't been in the side the past couple of weeks. Brent Riley back in this week. He'll be disappointed. Former North Melbourne fan as a kid, Brent Riley, and only had the 8 games last year because of a wrist and knee problems that he had last year. Let's hope it's not a repeat of the knee dramas that he had last year. Ross swoops, power. Can he find a target inside 50? Hacks it high, hoping for Jones. Otten with the fist, Petrie with the crumb.
Doesn't run anymore, Jones. He's not providing any sort of lead. I mean, that time he was on the end of it, but it was really just kicked on top of his head rather than creating space.
It's another opportunity now.
So free kick to McMahon.
Just got taken out of the contest from the ball up. Won himself a free kick. Needs to go back and kick this. We'll see here now. Just got taken out of it.
Still a sneaky chance here, the Kangaroos.
Oh, yeah.
They have had the better of this first part of the second half.
He's #1 for effective kicks, Scott McMahon, with all the defenders in the North Melbourne lineup. But most of those kicks, of course, coming out of defence. A couple of big sticks in front of him here. Long, inaccurate, and not effective. Behind.
Well, they need a goal, the Kangaroos, to reward themselves for the good work that they're doing in their forward 50. They've had a couple of shots on now, Drew Petrie. That one was a bad miss.
Got to do something about Bock, though. He's one of the most damaging centre-half backs in the game, and he creates him, continually goes back into the corridor, generally delivers the ball well.
And lays the tackle there on cue, Jared. He's a defender with midfielder numbers. Every week has the midfielder numbers.
Well, they use him as a midfielder in many ways. He creates as much as anybody in the game.
Well, as you can just see Brent Riley coming to the bench. Looks like he's actually done his hamstring. Just seen him pointing to his hamstring, so they might be getting the ice out, boys.
They might not need it today, Smithy. It's still pretty cold down there.
He
can sit on that bare aluminium seat. He'll be fine. Kangaroos still in this. 14 points the margin.
Don't tell me this. Kangaroos have kicked 1 goal halfway through the third quarter. Yeah? How come they can still win? It's a changing face of footy, isn't it?
It is, and we amazingly have seen teams unable to stop run-ons. Paul Roos, one of the best coaches in the competition, saw the Bulldogs kick 13 goals in a row a few weeks ago, so if he can't stop them, the run-ons, for some reason, the Floods don't beat them and the man-on-man doesn't beat them from happening. Gibson, good mark, now to the open side. Can North Melbourne get the run-on we talked about? Scott Thompson chips it wide. Doughty stands under this. That is a horrendous kick, and that's a good mark with a slippery ball.
That's for an in and under.
That's a bad kick, though. 2-on-2 on the outer side. Taylor Walker lays a double tackle. Took 2 down. That released Vince. He sends it long inside 50. Knights hands to it. Couldn't take the mark. Boundary line the friend for Grimer, and doesn't see a need to use it. Ross back towards the wing, and another poor kick. Blind kick to Doughty.
That one. A dumb kick. You've got to do better than that. He's only a young kid, but got to do better.
Vince shuffles it out. Walker inboard, back to Vince. He hacks a wobbler inside 50. Shirley was down there. Back of the pack. Tip it. Dumped by Grimer. Got away with one there. Swallow to Rawlings to Urquhart. And another poor kick from defence. Van Berlo cuts it off. Bock, there's that midfielder we spoke of. Sends a little wide. And unfortunately for Knights, way too wide. We'll get a ball in, but most players need a breather here. It's been a hot 9 minutes to start this third term.
Kurt Tippett was appealing for a free kick. And did he have a turn case? Not really.
Depends on who you barrack for, whether that was a free or not. that's not a free either, you wouldn't think, even though it's trapped in there. Well diagnosed, Dr. Smith.
Yeah, definitely that left hamstring, Dwayne. So they've got the ice on it. Lidlow is a little bit cold down here.
Edwards, well, he tried to don't argue and span into that swallow. Couldn't break free, ball up. Andrew Swallow, whose younger brother's been dominating for WA. The under-18 Carnival, Jacko.
And young Brandon Materi kicked 4 goals against the Vicks yesterday, so the son of Wally. But yes, young Swallow certainly had a great development in Western Australia.
24 plays 10, 14 points the margin.
He's done a good job too, Swallow. He's taken Tyson Edwards relatively out of the game, just 11 possessions to Edwards. He had that in a quarter, or 10 minutes he had that last week.
Little push on Ross. That's a free kick downfield. Jones marked it regardless. He's got no one to go to here. There was no one inside 50 for him to attack to. And Edwards kicks it up towards attacking 50, and here's that spare man that was lurking, Rutten. It's a shepherd from Petrenko. Wants to come to the open side. Free kick given, but it's advantage. Downey to Bock. Short pass, precise. Stevens, the lead up, now into the corridor. Numbers again. Thompson, Vince, open forward line. Tippett calls for it long. Taylor Walker, Tippett, they're both there. Good fist, Grimer. Thumped it down in the Pratt direction. Dangerfield had it but lost it. Got it back again. Tries to barrel his way through. Ball's held in. You heard umpire Avon. His ball.
Well, good arm wrestle this, but Nathan Grimmer, just the big score was what I needed.
Poor Pleasure spins out of trouble, and that's the kind of gem he can produce.
Well, Dwayne, you just sensed when it was going to come, because both sides certainly had their opportunities going the forward 50, but as you see this tap down by Kirk Tippett, and for Pleasure just getting front and square on the goal mouth there, you know what he is capable of. Nice set shot in the second quarter, and on that occasion, nice snapshot. Blows it out to now 20 points, and in these conditions you would think that could be the start of the run for Adelaide.
Two goals for Jason Pleasure, more importantly, 2 straight again today, and biggest margin of the game, 20 points. Ball up, still a lot of football to be played. Marriage, quick kick away, Vince gets it to half forward again. Stevens being held, and he'll line up from 45.
Gibson just got, well, his defender, his opponent, sorry, got goal side of him, and he just didn't want to allow him. There's no arguing here. See, got goal side of him. It's actually a little bit before that, but he was holding him.
2 goals within a minute for Adelaide, and to punch this margin out to 26. Big kick this to keep the momentum. Gives it some sky. It's a little short, and it's stumped into the behind post by Grimer. He would have rathered a behind there. Ball in suits Adelaide. Watch for the Kurt Tippett slap back. Dangerfield or Knights. Tried it, got it down, Swallow. Grimer, Rawlings, Ross, Howard. Rain continuing to tumble here, and North Melbourne will come home with the breeze. We'll check with Rowan Smith shortly about that breeze, but it looks to have stiffened a little in the last 10 minutes. Thompson. Grimer. So this one not done with yet. North Melbourne 30 minutes with the breeze. It'd be a good chance, perhaps, as it continues to stiffen. Poor Pleasure back inboard. And can Adelaide make something of it in the last 11 minutes of this third term? Taylor Walker with the kick at goal from 50.
Well, young Grimer, he'll like to have that opportunity again, because they're clearing the defence there, the Kangaroos, and Harris came off the interchange, so they were a chance to run the ball on this commentary wing, but it was just a poor kick. Ended up going straight to Poor Pleasure, who ended up kicking it to Taylor Walker.
You wouldn't think distance would be a problem for him. From the paint. And the breeze blows that, but a little too hard. for a behind.
Dwayne, you just mentioned the breeze. It probably did pick up a little bit there. Just at the start of the third quarter it picked up. So it's probably a 2 to 3 goal advantage the way that the Crows are kicking at the moment.
Okay, well, they're 2 to 3 goals down in some respects, North Melbourne. It's 1 goal to 4. Although it's 4-7 to 1-4.
They're on record pace at the moment, the Kangaroos, for their lowest score in the last 20 years to three-quarter time, or equal lowest anyway, at 10 points.
I did say earlier in the game that their last month they've been the lowest scoring team in the competition, 16th in scores, below teams like Melbourne and the Tigers.
Most other times I reckon they would have not been in with a chance, but still a chance here.
Symes back into traffic, back into trouble, surely. Well, Symes followed him up to get him out of trouble. Boch, look away, handball didn't quite work. Symes caught again. Good third effort though from Symes. Rutten. Now to the open side they come. Petrenko.
Got him here.
Simpson. Good attack from Simpson. Well played. Shoots it up. Trusted Edwards, who had to give it back. Pushing the bag. Not paid. Scott Thompson into the back of Simpson. He got away with it. Van Berlo doesn't get away with that. Swallow back again to Simpson. Finally gets a kick, but it's wide to the pocket. It won't roll out. And it stays in. Lindsay Thomas off the deck. Across the face, still alive. McMahon needs to keep it in. And clever. Symes through. No, it touched a little bit of the padding. Ball in.
Well, there's that free kick, Dwayne, that you think was there.
And?
Yeah, good decision.
No free.
Side.
You're a harsh man. I'd like to see you umpire though. No free that time either then. The earlier one wasn't paid. We'll get a ball up.
It's one of the toughest decisions these days as to how much the player with the footy goes to his knees as against how much he gets pushed.
Yeah. Scott Thompson. Around the body, boundary line. Edwards was there, but the desired result. We've got another angle here just to make it essentially understandable. The umpires have a tougher job than we do up here because we see it multiple times. We'll show that to you shortly. Marriott with a slap down. You heard the play on call. Edwards and Harding in front. A little bit of a lull. 17 minutes gone, third term. Hanson, trouble here. Porplegia off the deck. Pratt runs back. Porplegia with him. Porplegia wants to keep it alive. Hanson wants to mop up his mess. Caught by Tippett. Fantastic tackle. Porplegia dives in. Tippett back again. Looks up. Wants a pass option. Hits Walker. It was just over his head. Still alive though. Urquhart threw it out. Rawlings in defence. He threw it out. Wasn't a genuine handball. Umpire gave him the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I reckon it's in the same spirit as that free kick to Simpson not being paid. We'll have another look at that, but I reckon there's been 3 free kicks. To me, that's in the side. The last bit, he's just on top of him, but the majority of it was in the side. I think the umpires are doing pretty well right now.
Yeah, I'm with you there.
Tough conditions.
Yeah, very tough for players and umpires. Otten, the seas parted for Andy Otten. He looks up, thumps it long. Kangaroos have 4 here to beat Tippett. Knocked out of Hanson, and that means they can't have anyone inside 50. McMahon.
It's a better kick.
So Thomas can run. He can go all the way. Needs to go all the way. Runs to the paint. Looks up. Goes long. Ugly.
Well, he didn't have to kick it as hard as he did because the ball will slide in a straight line in these conditions. Won't necessarily bounce sideways. In fact, it almost certainly will go straight. So he just needed to get it into the goal square. Well, it was a great rebound, wasn't it?
Great switch of plays for the middle of Fine Thomas on that occasion.
Bringing it back.
Boys, Taylor Walker just came to the bench, dislocated finger from that. The pass that just went over his head, but they've just put it back in, so all good.
With lovely dislocated fingers in 8 degrees.
Neil Curley, I just saw in the stand, yelled out, "I'll show you a dislocated finger."
That's right. He was waving to all 5 of us at the same time. Good mark to Petrie. Sends it back. Big one this for McMahon. Flies. Got Vince out of it. Edwards needs to nail the goal now. Had the handball option. Kicks long. They're still in it. Edwards was the goal.
Well, fantastic goal, but McMahon's shepherd to allow the passage through for Aaron Edwards to kick that goal was fantastic. You see here now, he competes for it, gets up, now he comes in and shepherds. That's the shepherd that enabled him to turn back in, bit of space, bit of time more importantly, and have a shot on goal. Well done, Urquhart.
Yeah, it was a nice result from the mongrel.
Back to 14 points, and they'll come home with the breeze, North Melbourne, who've played 20 minutes. Third term, Dean Landley looking on, wants to see this run on continue. Harris tried to handle out Dangerfield, kept his feet, got a little high on Ross, not paid. Dangerfield steals it back again, sends it inside 50, ball pleasure, thumb clear. Grimer, he needs to put this through, puts it out of play.
Looks better with Port Pleasure deep and Tippett further up the ground. I think they've been sucked in by going too long to Tippett too often. And he's had half a dozen bodies break down. But geez, a bit stiff there. The Kangaroos missed a head high, or the umpires missed a head high slap, which nearly cost them the goal.
Tippett slapped it back. Grimer got it from Harris, but couldn't hit his target. Sliding in Knights. They dragged it back under him. Umpire said it's come out. Ball up. Natives a little restless at the moment. Still enjoying themselves. Free kick out of this contest. Ferrito's ball. Kangaroos can sense that they're back in this.
Well, the physicality at the contest has been first class in this third quarter. You can't fault them on that, but they've had 3 shots on goal, 3 easy ones that have, well, I won't say easy in these conditions, but they've missed them.
Grimer, Ross, Thompson, back to Ross, stolen by Adelaide's Thompson, gives to McLeod, and we know he can kill, and he finds Port Pleasure.
Isn't that the beauty, Jared, of a class player in such a tight game now? It is tight, and you need someone to do something special. Andy McLeod or any other player could have had the right of way to go and bomb it long. He's 55 out, and in the corner of his eye, he just saw Jason Port Pleasure just a little chip over and settles play. Now they can go back and kick this goal.
No, that's a fair point. Vision and execution.
25 goals, 5 this year. Jason Port Pleasure. Oh, it's another fantastic kick. Mr. Reliable punches the margin back out to 20.
He's unmozzable. You've been trying for the best part of 2 years now, and he just keeps on giving you the bird and getting away with it. Hasn't cost him a cent.
As we see here, Andy McLeod will get this ball in a minute. Comes out. It could go up, and then he just sees him in the corner of his eye. Decision making and execution, all in the space of a split second. That's why he's who he is.
In a good footy school, Sacred Heart College. Corns boys, of course, and Port Pleasure. 3 goals so far today, and that's the difference in the scores.
There's not been one tap out from a centre clearance from a ruckman in the air.
Ross, who's trying hard to inspire them. Garlick tried to slick handball the first gamer, missed the target, but it was really stolen by Bock. Back again to Vince. Thumps it wide. Moran. Turns on McIntosh, takes him on. Little 1-2 with Thompson, releases Moran. Now the long bomb inside 50. Walker got hands to it. Port Pleasure. Kick half smothered. Goes back in to get his word, but Simpson takes it out. Umpire says not deliberate. The crowd wanted it. Umpire says no.
There's the big jump. He went a little bit early, and then Port Pleasure was a bit stiff. But Brad Moran's the one I think that's got under the guard of a lot of clubs. Certainly not getting much recognition, but his ability to jump into this first ruck position and compete and do better than that, I think has been significant in the Crows' resurgence over the last month.
They're not high possessions for Brad Moran, but certainly high impact. Simpson, midfield, Alton the fist, Edwards the collect, caught by Ross again, has been good, ties it up. And we'll get another ball up.
Almost invariably he goes for the push. He must have a really strong upper body. He's pushing and neutralising McIntosh, who's the more celebrated ruckman. That time he let me down. That wasn't. No, I won't go on because it would look like it's retribution.
McIntosh sends it wide. That was the exception that proves your rule.
Well, that's the sort of stuff that he was doing last year.
Yeah.
And I think he's just, when he stays within the boundaries of his ability, he's become a very effective player.
McMahon long, he was hoping for Harding, but the ball out of play. And he looks like breaking the curse, Jared, which is good. Wearing the number 2, Brad Moran, that was cursed by Andrew Jarman. He played 110 games in it for the Crows, and no one since has ever worn it for long. John Meeson, Tim Cook, Brodie Atkinson, Matthew Sher, Evan Hewitt, and of course, he even jinxed Wayne Carey, Andrew Jarman. Now Brad Moran's doing well on it, which is good news. From the ball up, another tackle laid by Ben Ross, and another ball up for Moran to contest. (37-17). 20 points the margin. And Shirley is not delivered there because he was pushed as he was kicking and he kept it low. Skidded across the line. Ball in. 9th versus 12th in the AFL ladder. Kangaroos needing the 4 points to stay in touch with the 8. Adelaide needing the 4 points to head up to the top 4. Swallow.
Geez, he did that well.
Harris.
Player.
Otten, so's he. Dowdy. And a little poke pass, that was clever in traffic. And is that 50?
Yes, he was. He was dead set on.
It was 6 of one, half a dozen of the other, wasn't it? The umpire did well there, not paying 50 and not paying hard in the ball. Vince. Doughty. Hits wide to Moran. It was manned up by the Adelaide runner. The Adelaide runner was having a chat to him and had to get going so the ball could be marked.
Dwayne, we can see Kurt Tippett just on the bench, just complaining of a right shoulder problem at the moment, so the physios and doctors are just speaking to him.
Taylor Walker spins it around the body. Knights is down there. Harding, good contest, important contest. Knights to his own advantage, then leaves it behind. Ball out of play. 2 minutes 37 left with the breeze, Adelaide, and then it's North Melbourne's turn. The drizzle continues to fall. Kurt Tippett continues to rub his head. Marriage now on doing some ruck work. McIntosh beats him, gets the clearance. Jones, Otten, ball in. Corey Jones played over here for a while with Sturt, under the great Phil Carman in those days in the SANFL.
Well, he could be the key in the last quarter, Dwayne. If he can find some form, which he's been looking for the best part of 2 seasons, he could turn this game around.
Oh, Dangerfield put the afterburners on, ran to 50. Grimer got back.
Should like to count the steps there. It's a great play, but the umpire gave him the benefit of the doubt.
Pratt, a wobbler, tough one. Hanson made it okay. He needs to produce a bit of Phil Carman form, Corey Jones, to turn this game around. Mind you, they're all wearing white boots now. Hanson to 3-on-1 here. Petrie the 1 and beats them.
They're going to get this boy more into the game, whether they pigeonhole him down at full forward and get it to him.
Dangerous.
Symes. No free on Ross. He was going for the ball. Poor pleasure. Oh, it opens up for McKay. He's got 1-on-1s ahead. Maintains possession. Symes. He loads up. Stevens is back there. Knights also. Did it get touched? It was. It's a behind regardless. Biggest margin of the game, 21 points.
And Dwayne, the physios were just checking out Kurt Tippett's right neck. So he got a cop to the neck, and it was referring down to his shoulder. But he looks okay now. Should be back on in a minute.
Power inboard to Swallow. Chance for a late score here for North Melbourne. Dumped. He dropped it and then didn't have it. Marich, handball inboard. McKay long. Almost, but not quite the mark to Knights.
You saw all those Crows players around the footy. It's why that kick from McKay wasn't a really smart one, because all the players were in defence for the Kangaroos.
How's that for commitment from all three? Oh, boy.
She's in trouble too.
Yeah, it was jumped on, tackled high, and Zeeble, he dived into that contest with no fear whatsoever. And as he hurt his knee. Could have been a Freda silence there. And there. But the umpires have let it go a little and it's coming off. He has hurt a knee, Jack Zeeble. I hope it's not.
Hard to see how it happened, Dwayne, but
the player came in and bumped him from the side of the leg. Petrie slips the handball inboard. Swallow to Ross. 30 seconds and counting. Kick to half forward. Another good fist from Bock. He's a sensational player. He has been for a while. Best and fairest All-Australian last year, so we're telling you nothing. Doughty.
He's such a good player, though. Corey Jones would do better to lead to the grandstand.
Take him away. Kick inside 50 to Walker. He's got this one. Tough angle. He'll kick on the siren unless he does a McLeod and plays on.
And Jack Zeeble, Dwayne, gone straight down into the rooms, boys. So I'll give you an update after the third quarter.
Taylor Walker in the gutter. But this is the Adelaide Crows pocket, essentially. This is the pocket they are in with the last kicks before training ends. So this might be kickable. Done this before. From the line. Behind. And North Melbourne will come home with a slight breeze. Rowan Smith said it's worth 2 to 3. That means they're still in it. 22 points to margin. Adelaide 5-9-39. North Melbourne 2-5-17. Three-quarter time at Amy Stadium, and he's coaching to keep them in it, and he's coaching for his coaching life as well. If you read the press, Dean Laidley, one of the best coaches in the competition. He's got a lot out of this North Melbourne outfit, and the North Melbourne outfit has been led by some superstars, and one of them is downstairs with Rowan Smith.
Thanks, Dwayne. Well, Boomer, you're a little bit cold. How close were you to getting out there tonight?
Oh, I was pretty close. I got the all clear from the coach, but our doctor overruled it and said, no good. But obviously being Simo's 300th, I tried everything I could to get up.
What about the boys here? They're still in it. What would Dean be saying there to them at three-quarter time?
Oh, I think he would be saying take risks. We've only kicked 2 goals for the game. Probably got to kick another 4 to win it. So he'd be saying take risks, take the game on, and just have a real crack, boys. Nothing to lose. Getting
the ball inside 50 has been a little bit of a problem. Who do you think that would play in the midfield to get it in there?
Oh, I think we can push Cruz Garlett, first gamer, and also Lindsay Thomas get up with their good ball use and get the ball into Drewy. Drewy's been clunking the ball and, give Aaron Edwards a few more opportunities.
Boom, thanks for joining us. Don't get too cold, mate.
No worries. Thanks, Smitty.
Brent Harvey with Rowan Smith, and you saw the president, James Brayshaw, and Daniel Wells was sitting there as well. And if you had widescreen, you would have seen David Hale on the right-hand side, the late exclusion for this game, with Daniel Harris, the late inclusion. For Adelaide Crow fans who've joined us late, a couple of changes there as well. John Cock and Douglas out, Shirley and Petrenko in. So it comes down to this. 1 quarter of football, 22 points to margin in favour of Adelaide, but North Melbourne with a slight breeze.
Well, it's a big job, obviously, but even bigger in the context of where the Kangaroos have been over the last 6 quarters of footy. After a big start early last week, I think they kicked 4 goals after quarter time. They've kicked 2 goals just to date, which means 6 goals in 6 quarters. And they've got to really turn that around, Jacko, and find a way to kick 4, probably 5 or 6 goals if they're going to win this game.
Well, we heard Boomer Harvey say put Cruz, Garland and Lindsay Thomas in the middle. I think that's a good move because Ferrito's in there in the middle. Like he's had a bit of the ball, but he just hasn't been really to that effect. I'd put him at full forward.
Opening clearance important here. Petrie sends it to full forward. No. Thomas!
There's one.
And is directly out, just needs the finish.
Well, it's the best pie floater that Drew Petrie has thrown for a fair period of time. And fortunately, the short forward was right in front.
Well taught, Lindsay Thomas, Graham Johncock's father, one of his coaches as a junior at Mallee Park, the All-Indigenous Club. Port Lincoln knows this ground well. Perfect start for North Melbourne.
Well, that's the start that they needed, and it was a good clearance, but just the way they had numbers that rushed it. You see the midfielders all getting together. Like you said, on the conditions like today, good old-fashioned footy, play in front of your man. The ball's going to drop. It'll drop in that spot there. And he's happy about it.
He's very happy, and so he should be. It's been starvation alley down there for the best part of 6 quarters. He's been starved of opportunities, and that time it was the big mung coming from through Petrie.
Only Lindsay Thomas's second goal in the past 3 games. But he could be the spark they need up forward. 16 points the margin. Tippett ducked in, tried to get a handball to Thompson, slung, dispossessed. Urquhart shovels it out. Edwards, who's been well held by Swallow, gets it out this time. Petrie wrapped up, ball up. Holding the ball. We haven't played a lot of those today. Vince. No one on the mark.
She was lucky Swallow for not giving away 50.
Heads wide, Petrenko, who's just given up a goal. Lindsay Thomas's man. Thomas comes at him.
Petrenko's power.
And he takes him on and wins, Petrenko. Wobbles it towards the wing. Tippett. Good grab that.
Good
in
hands
fact, it's
up.
on. Yep.
He's got better as the game's gone, even in these conditions, Jared.
Pretty dry footy right now, Smithy, it looks.
New ball.
Yeah, new ball, Dwayne, you picked it. So, and look, the ground is a little bit slippery, but the boys will be trying hard in this last quarter just to try and move the ball on a little bit quicker.
They both marked that together. The dry ball. Stevens and Scott Thompson will get a ball up on 50. (39 plays 23). 16 points the margin. Stevens over the top. Simpson. Grimer. And that was through for a behind, and well played by Daniel Pratt. Straight down the middle. Time is of the essence. Harding. 3 goals unanswered, and they're in front, North Melbourne. And as Rowan Smith said, the spree is worth about 3. McIntosh edged under it. Vince slaps it out. Ball in. Rowan Smith.
Well, boys, a little bit of bad news for young Jack Zeeble. He just comes his knock to the leg as he comes in. They're going to take him to the hospital, actually, and get an X-ray on his leg. So it doesn't look too much, but just see that when he just slides in there and just collects him with that knee. So just that lower leg, going to take him to the hospital and get an X-ray.
He grabbed the outside of his upper leg, Smithy. There's every chance he might have just cracked the fibula, which, as far as broken legs are concerned, it's at the low grade, might miss a week or 2 or possibly 3, but with the break probably wouldn't miss too much footy.
Yeah, and that's what they're thinking, Jared, so he's just down the rooms now about to take him to the hospital.
About this wind, Smith, the windsock is blowing straight across the ground. You convinced it's that big an advantage?
Probably not, Jared. Look, it is a little bit heavy. It's probably the windsock's full of rain, so it can't blow that much. But
still blowing towards us, not down the ground.
No, but boys, it's still going down to that right-handed end of screen,
He
boys.
was a doctor before, now he's the weatherman.
There's a hole at the low end of that windsock for the rain to blow out. But anyway, I know where you're coming from. It's probably
Full of wind.
Yeah, that's right. It is. What, Smithy or the slot?
Like you, boys, like you, full of wind.
Van Berlo. 17 points the margin. Chip kick, half forward. Good kick to half forward. Tippett, Edwards, and now the long bomb. Marich is down there, can't get a fly at it. Scott Thompson, solid grab, front of the pack. Petrie. Heads wide. Edwards too wide for Edwards. You need those kicks to hit targets if you're to beat the best teams in the competition, and Drew Petrie is one of the better players in the competition, and he'll be disappointed with that. Ball in. Tippett slaps down to Scott Thompson. To half forward, and nice! Couldn't quite bring it down. Gibson's hurt. Got a knee in the ear. Shirley gets it from Paul Pleasure, tucked into the pocket, heads toward goal, thumped through. And he's still down, Gibson, in the hands of trainers in a bad way. And that knee to the ear. Bang. Has almost knocked him out. They might need a stretcher here to stop play. See, that's the mark as well, wasn't it? McMahon toward half forward. Oh, little push by Thomas on Petrenko.
Well, I reckon that's fantastic work from Petrenko. The last time the ball went down there, Thomas was in front. This time, the runner went out to him, and he learned from his mistakes, and that's why he's going to be a very good player.
And he's won the last 2 contests they've gone at it. So he's, hasn't sulked the fact that he conceded a goal. He's got on with the job.
There's a first.
Kick to the middle of 2 there. Simpson.
Cloud's turned it over.
Yeah. Harris, big bomb. Lindsay Thomas down there. Edwards crashes the pack. Can he get a kick? Comes back inboard, spins it to the goal square. Bok, he was waiting for that.
See, that's a good clearance.
McKay. McLeod. See if he hits the target this time. Andrew McLeod. Back to McKay. And they've worked this along the wing magnificently. No one to kick to, so they maintain possession by hand. Marriage couldn't gather. Urquhart does. Handball a little sloppy from Pratt. Grimer, Pratt, Power, Grimer. Gibson's up and okay. He heads wide. Swallow. He can go here. Over the head of Hansen. And Dowdy can see this out if he'd like. In fact, Hansen takes it from him and knocks it out.
Well, he had an option there, Andrew Swallow. He just had to hit the target. He missed that one, but he had 2 inside the corridor. One was the ruckman screaming for it, and they just got to straighten up in this last quarter if they're going to put scoreboard pressure going through the corridor.
Having a rest now, looks a little spent as Bok thumps it to poor Pleasure. Good chest mark, and maybe no 50. The umpire said. Just protected the ball there, poor Pleasure. Took the solid chest mark and comes wide to Scott Thompson, who drops it. He's got 2 coming at him now. Pratt thumps it on. Ferrito off the deck. Simpson, McLeod, Simpson, 2 of the all-time greats for their respective clubs. Symes, Dowdy, inboard. Good game this. Low-scoring game, but a tight contest. Tippett to Bok to Pratt.
Well, that was a dud kick from Bok, and he's chastising himself. It's unlike him, but he's doing that one over badly.
3 goals the margin. Lindsay Thomas drops it. Slips the handle to Urquhart. Hansen inside 50. Bok took the hands out there, Bok. No free for an arm whack. Rutten, they team so well, Bok and Rutten. And again, they work together to get it to Symes, to Edwards. 9 minutes gone on the clock. 13:25 plus time on to go. Petrenko. And he's got on the open side, and that's a good release kick. Puts him in space. Got a couple of one-on-ones ahead. It just depends on which one he'd rather. Heads long. Walker's the one-on-one he went for. Urquhart with the fist. Ball knocked out. Scott Thompson rolling straight up in the air. It'll be a mark. Play on now. Hits the deck. Paul Pleasure caught. What dumping to the turf with those dodgy shoulders by Scott Thompson. Ball up. But each passing second favours Adelaide now. Good crowd in. Horrid conditions in some respects. There's still more than 30,000 here to watch their beloved. Both these teams with a week off next week. So a fortnight to get over whatever injuries they get. They can give it their all in this final term. Cruz Garland been okay in game 1. His teammates haven't really looked after him with possessions. McIntosh hacks it away, and that's been their downfall all day. They've given it straight back to the waiting walls. Dowdy.
You can't fault the energy of the Kangaroos. It's been, they've lifted it for this last quarter, but their thought process going to their forward 50 is just playing right in the hands of the Adelaide Crows.
Possession 26, Scott Thompson onto the chest, perfection, and a good chance for Marriage to do as he did last week in the Adelaide Crows win over Essendon, and that is kick a decisive goal.
Well, this will be a bit more difficult. It's got a greasy footy. Wouldn't be too heavy. It's not. It's been maybe 10 minutes old, but fair way out. And he's made a fair recovery after being dropped. What was it? 4 or 5, 6 weeks ago.
Push the margin out to 24. Concentration all over his face. From the 50, it's horrid. Scraped through for a behind, but some may say handy behind. It's 19 points. 3 goals, 1. Pratt. Petrie, big leap, couldn't bring the mark down. Back the pack, Harris. Not a great handball, made it tough for Rawlings. Scott Thompson steals it, gain to Edwards. To Petrenko, slips it inside 50. Stevens, who's a more accurate kick than Marriage.
Similar to Andrew McLeod's in the third quarter, where he could have blazed away to the top of the square, but in the corner of his eyes, he saw Stevens and, well, it just lifted his vision when he carried the ball. It was a nice little chip kick.
From the 50. Has it got the carry? It has, and thumped through for a behind. Just didn't quite have the last metre on it. Out to 20 points.
He's had a good 5 minutes, Petrenko. He actually confronted the oncoming North Melbourne gang and then kept in the contest and ended up with that footy.
Rawlings.
Middle of it.
Power.
It's a poor kick.
And straight to the Adelaide wall again. Hanson. Oh, gee, that was a whack in 50. Bot. And Adelaide don't need to turn this over here with their remonstration. Hanson was caught behind. The man was in the hole and he's being dragged.
I think their runner was out there already, Bron.
Yeah, I think you're right, because it wouldn't be that quick, the message. But you wonder if he was being dragged for playing behind initially anyway. Bock. He gets a chance to have a rare shot at goal, Nathan Bock. Kicked 1 this year so far. His 2nd of the season. Very accurate kick coming out of defence. See how he is with the big sticks. Pressure moment. Pressure kick. The man for the moment nails it.
Well, we had a great shot of that one, Jacko, and there was a bit of draw. And when you kick the ball with draw, you know you've hit it absolutely flush.
Nah, fair call, Jared. I mean, that just hurts the opposition. They were pressing. I said they were in good spirit going forward. The energy was good, but their execution going into their forward line, that was another up and under kick. When young Garlett was in the middle, there's an opportunity for him to get it to him, but hats off to the Crows. The 2 boys at the back there, Rutten and Bock, rebounded very well.
Hanson off, and North Melbourne on the canvas. 26 points down. And we're 14 minutes in, final term. Simpson in game 300. Tough to get the 4 points for him from here.
So there goes a Porky again.
McIntosh with the big launch forward. Good chase and run down, although it's not in the back. No, it's holding the ball. Garlett couldn't quite get the kick away in time. Free kick Adelaide.
Once upon a time, that kick was a good kick, Jared, but it was straight to a wall of Crows as we see a fantastic tackle. You've mentioned it. He's had a good quarter. After that early goal, Petrenko's responded and got himself a nice free kick there.
Well, there's no John Cock in the side today, and he's just slipped in nicely, and he looks pretty comfortable there.
Stevens not paid that mark. Symes close to the line, and Edwards helps it out.
Petrenko's been a bit of a find for them in defence, Smithy.
He has, and as you mentioned, Jared, with John Cock, with that little bit of run, that's what they needed, but also is his skill. His skill outside 50 has been terrific, hitting targets, and that's what North Melbourne haven't been able to do, especially in this last quarter.
Couldn't get a 4th NAB Rising Star nomination this year, could they, Adelaide? Had an outstanding year with 3. Umpire barking instructions, umpire Sean Ryan.
They played a free kick in the 3rd quarter for blokes not getting off people in packs.
Shirley. Pratt. Caught by Knights. Turnover. Good tackle, Knights. Dangerfield. McLeod. Chased down. Got the kick away just in time and tip it.
Stevens.
Did he mean that kick?
Yeah.
He did, didn't he? Under pressure. I mean, the class of players that we get to watch in our great game, but he certainly has done it for a long period of time. He knew he was going to get run down, but to have the balance that he had to still execute that kick and kicked it to, well, they've had leading forwards. We saw before another kick with Bok. This time Tippett has a chance to kick a goal.
7 goals won last week in Adelaide's come from behind win against the Bombers. That was his breakout game, Kurt Tippett. And kicks the closer today.
Well, I mentioned it before, Jared, about the class of Andy McLeod, but you just sense the Crows' work rate has been as equal as the Kangaroos. They've been well-spirited, but just their numbers around the contest here, they've always outnumbered the Kangaroos 3 to 4. And this bloke on the end of it, he knew he was going to get tackled, just had to finish up the kick. It was just a nice little chip up to Kurt Tippett and a very good goal. Good team play all round.
Kurt Tippett, one of the rising stars of this Adelaide Crows lineup. Adelaide's won the past 4 against North Melbourne here. They've won the last 7 in a row, the Crows against North Melbourne. And they look like making it 8, which would be their equal highest run against any team ever in the competition. 8 wins in succession. Edwards wide. Grimer, who's tried hard, beaten for it by Tippett. Throws it up. Simpson shoots it back. Scott Thompson. Grimer. Now Rawlings off the side of the boot. And got a push in the back after. No advantage, so Cruz Gala.
Well, I don't think this is an advantage
to give it over.
Either, Dwayne, because it gives Adelaide time to get players back.
There was the little nudge. Burkhardt. Tough one to mark Petrie. And, oh, that's a mark. He marked that Dangerfield.
Well, it's called for contact to the arm. So,
but if you mark it, how can you pay arm contact to the guy that's trying to mark it?
As we see here, front on contact. Front on contact. I think that's a good decision.
Yeah, I reckon if you mark it, it overrides it. Dowdy. Depends on whether his fist got the ball and arm or just arm.
You're supposed to protect the player that's going for the ball.
There's Jack Siebel. And Jared Hill is suggesting it might be a break to one of the bones in his leg, a minor break, which might see him out for a week or 2 after the break, if you know what I mean. That's the split round break. Thompson, Edwards.
After the bye.
Yeah.
Good hands.
So McCain to McLeod. He sends it long. The full forward. How good is that? Taylor Walker. If Lily don't get you, Tomo must. It's a good combo, Walker and Tippett up forward for Adelaide at the moment.
Well, once again, we'll sing the praises of Andrew McLeod, but this is the benefit when you're going to your forward 50. You kick it to the advantage of your forward. Kurt Tippett that time. He's got good height against Scotty Thompson here, but it's a 70-30 advantage in the favour of Tippett. Now, you're forced to either spoil a miraculous spoil or get some more body. If you get more body on him and arms, you're going to give the free kick away, and that's what he did. So once again, we go back to the kicker, which was Andrew McLeod.
Taylor Walker had his breakout game against Hawthorn here a couple of weeks ago.
Well, you sense that Adelaide were going to come over the top sooner or later, and they certainly have in the second half. The last quarter, they've kicked on 19 scoring shots to 8. But their class has come to the top. Edwards, Brock we've spoken about, and Rutten down back. This guy here, or an earlier turnover, but his goal assist inside the forward 50 in the second half, that's his 3rd one. But once again, the kick and a bit of class from your midfielders to be able to put the ball in the right spot has been the difference between the two sides.
Neil Craig was criticised last year for holding Taylor Walker back. He was kicking goals for Norwood. Hit a couple of big bags, including a 9. Neil Craig didn't play him because he said there were other aspects of his game he had to work on to become an AFL footballer, and he's worked on them superbly. Shirley dumped into the turf, and Lucky not to pop a shoulder there.
And Dwayne, that ain't a bad thing either, to teach young players to appreciate their time out there, and sometimes it doesn't come all that easy or gifted to them. They've got to work this spot in the side, and once they're there, then their work rate and ability to hold it is up to them.
That's Neil Craig's philosophy. They're two important league games, you just give them away. Lindsay Thomas, big leap. Van Berlo, Otten thumps it clear towards McKay.
He's been one of the BOGs, I reckon, McKay, and he's an underrated young player.
Yeah, can enjoy his 21st birthday next week, Jared. Still young, and he's got a week off for the party. Marriott inboard. Scott Thompson long. They're both down there. Tippett, Walker, they looked at each other, and Grimer marked it. From defensive 50 to Harding, who can go. Libby gathers.
He's almost like Boycott taking him home. Wasn't Tomo or Lillard.
Dowdy inboard. They're enjoying themselves now, Adelaide. They'll be up to equal fourth on the AFL ladder. Back to Petrenko. Biggest margin of the game right now, 38 points. And Rutten wide to the man you spoke of, David McKay. From Oakley, Victoria, and has become a very important part of this lineup now. Just gained 31 for McKay. To Van Berlo.
Free kick down the ground.
So Tippett's ball, he was being held. Kirk Tippett to take it. And just on that, Jared, you won a Brownlow medal as a fantastic midfielder, as we see Zeeble leave for hospital. People talk about players who receive the ball from the handball, but there is an amazing amount of gut running that players do to enable themselves to get those handballs. You need players, midfielders, pushing themselves through that pain barrier.
Well, I just watched McKay run from the back pocket to the forward pocket. Didn't end up with the ball, but he is a running machine without doubt. Reminds me a lot of Craig Bradley, who I saw dominate in State of Origin games a lot on that outer wing here. Many years chopping up Victoria.
There's a Gold Coast target. Kurt Tippett, the Adelaide Crows, as he hits the inside of the post, said they're going to try their utmost to keep him. It's a very potent forward line at the moment. And at the start of the year, people were asking how are Adelaide going to kick their goals.
And Dwayne, I saw Scotty Clayton in the stands before, so I spoke to him, so he'd be keeping an eye on him tonight as well.
Did he have a checkbook?
Certainly did, Jared.
Gee. Surely, that's bad news for Adelaide Crow fans, I think. McKay again, and another precise pass to Vince, whose work rate is also way up Bernie Vince. Hard to believe Bernie Vince was too unfit to get a game in the SANFL seniors at one stage. Couldn't even get a game for Woodville Torrens because he wasn't fit enough and didn't work hard enough. And he has turned his work rate and fitness level around to be a regular now as well. From 50.
Back himself.
Gives it some sky. That's out of here. 45 points.
Gee, Jared, when you've got the luxury of a lot of good players like the Crows do that can kick the ball well on the run and outside 50, we demonstrated before. But Bernie Vince, to go outside 50, set shot, he never looked like missing that shot.
He's a talented player. There he is again. McKay gets it to Vince. And bang.
Hit it sweet too.
That win.
That draw.
21 possessions today for Bernie Vince, so not up there with the 36 that he had last week against Essendon. But last week, had 12 possessions in the last quarter when Adelaide came from behind to win that game. He really worked his backside off to drag Adelaide across the line, as a number of these.
And you raise a valid point there, Dwayne, because the work rate, and that's a sign of their fitness and their fitness that they pride themselves on. They finished off the game well last week. Game was up for grabs, and when you've got players like that having big impacts in the last quarter, once again today in the second half, they've dominated this game.
Symes long. Jones. A wobbler. Lindsay Thomas, as you heard, hit the deck. Down to 3 minutes. Edwards. No one to kick to, or he has now. McMahon's run on from defence, and he's got no one to kick to. Needs to stop and backtrack. Throws it up. Edwards, third possession attempt in the string of play, and he's spent. Aaron Edwards, Dowdy, Rutten, Symes. Had Vince inboard if he wanted him, goes to McLeod. And his last quarter's been superb as well. Vince. Van Berlo. What a different world it'd be if Andrew McLeod just got that extra couple of votes and won that Brownlow in 2001 instead of Jason Ackermanis. Ross.
How would it be different?
I don't know whether Acker would have quite as much to say and whether they'd talk about McLeod in a bit more glowing terms. He's been a superstar. So is Acker, by the way. Second book comes out in a couple of months. Jason Ackermanis. And from what I understand, there's going to be a couple of interesting chapters in that. The legal people have got it at the moment. Symes. He heads wide. Van Berlo.
Question is, how long will they have it for?
45 points the margin, biggest margin of the game. And Petrenko couldn't quite finish off his starring final term. Ross inboard, Jones went for it, Doughty.
This defence is just eating up the Kangaroos. Once again, they go to a 1-on-3 contest, and they've just mounted there. Many attacks from that back line.
Otten.
Coming up for possession number 20, Otten.
Symes. A couple of players still to come back into this lineup as Taylor Walker tried for the fly and McIntosh marks. So the Adelaide Crows go into the break now, equal fourth on the AFL ladder and looking strong for the second half tilt. Harris spears this one. Good hands, Aaron Edwards.
And Rowan, we've got an injury down on one of the Kangaroos guys holding his hamstring. It's Lindsay Thompson.
Yeah, Lindsay Thomas is just holding his left hamstring, boys. So another injury away for the Kangaroos.
So as the seconds continue to roll, the story gets uglier for North Melbourne. You can see the disappointment there on Lindsay Thomas's face. Aaron Edwards, long bomb, and he's missed. Another behind. He knows this could mean an extended period on the sidelines, Lindsay Thomas, even though they have the break coming up this week as well. Playing out the final seconds now. Moran. So the Adelaide Crows extend their winning run against North Melbourne to 8, an equal record against any team for the Adelaide Crows, up to equal fourth on the AFL ladder, and a young team growing in confidence and a forward line that's now potent. And despite the rainy conditions, they have dominated in the second half to blow this margin out to 44 points at the siren. 9-14-68 to North Melbourne, 3-6-24. Adam Simpson in game 300, disappointed again. He was disappointed in game 200 win for his milestone 200th game. They lost to St Kilda, and his teammates clean forgot to carry him off. Let's see if they carry him off today. Hopefully they do, because he has been a star, and he joins Glenn Archer and Wayne Schimmelbusch as 300 game players for the North Melbourne Footy Club. One of only 61 players in the history of the game to play 300 games now, Adam Simpson, and one of only 41 to have played their 300 with the one club. And our own Rowan Smith, one of that list of 41.